Eagles football is finally back. Training camp is live and well, which means the Eagles are under the microscope, especially QB1 Jalen Hurts. Is this going to be a make or break season for Eagles franchise quarterback? We'll discuss that now in another episode of Flippin' the Birds. Let's get it.
He's into the end zone. Touchdown, Eagles.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome all to another episode of Flippin' the Birds. I'm Brian Cameron alongside David Neese. Corey Nido will be joining us shortly. David, it's a beautiful Tuesday evening, at least where I live. How you feeling today?
I feel great every day, but it is not beautiful here. It was like flood warnings, constant rain. It's been a pretty nasty day here.
That sounds like a regular day down here. I feel like every day at between 2 and 4, it's thunder, lightning, rain. It's you see cows flying like in the movie Twister. It's chaotic, but it calms down after that.
That's because the theme parks, Disney in particular, control the weather patterns there to force people inside to buy food and drinks and things like that.
I will buy into that conspiracy. So don't play with me right now. But, we could jump into conspiracies, right? Let's jump into the conspiracy theory that Jalen Hurts is apparently on the fringe. He's on the roster bubble, according to several media outlets out there, where he's under a lot of pressure to perform in this season because he's going to be without A.J. Brown. He has an entirely brand new offense, a brand new offensive coordinator, brand new offensive line coach, brand new weapons in Mekhi Lemon, Elijah Moore, Hollywood Brown, even Eli Stowers, right? Where do you see Jalen Hurts right now? Let's look at his career-wise. In his career, I think this is year 7 right now.
6 as a starter, I guess.
Okay. Where do you see him standing right now in the NFL?
Like overall, like if you tiered quarterbacks?
If you tiered quarterbacks, yeah. Because he's been left off I feel like every quarterback list at this rate.
Yeah. I would have him in the second tier. I mean, I acknowledge that Patrick Mahomes is, probably better overall, Josh Allen. And there's one more that's escaping me who I kind of think that is probably a tier ahead of him. But I think he holds his own against the next tier, especially if you're factoring age and athleticism. If you're looking at it from a dynasty standpoint, which is what Howie Roseman and NFL teams have to do. I do think he's in the second tier of quarterback. At worst, I mean, I'd have him probably 5th, 6th, but at worst, he's in the top 10. I mean, that's absolutely at worst.
Where in the top 10 do you feel like he falls? And I'm trying to be unbiased, right? And we can name off the quarterbacks. You said Pat Mahomes is the clear number 1. I feel like, he is the face of the league. He's got to be there until he shows his reasons not to be there. Number 2 seems to be, between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson at times, although Josh Allen has extended his lead a little bit. So we can say 3 is Lamar Jackson. After that, do you go Joe Burrow, who's been consistently injured? Do you go with a Dak Prescott, who's actually been consistent, even though he sucks in the playoffs? Or do you throw Jalen Hurts in that mix where it's like, okay, like he can actually be top 4, top 5?
Yeah, that's the tier where I'm at. I mean, I acknowledge Mahomes, Allen are probably ahead. Lamar Jackson, again, probably ahead, but not as much as everybody thought at one point. And then you're right, it comes down to Joe Burrow next. And I would take Jalen Hurts over him, if for nothing else, just the health. Now, do I think he's as good as a pure passer? No, I don't. But that's not the only thing that defines a quarterback. So I think he is in that tier. And at worst, he's right behind Joe Burrow. I mean, you start looking at the next guys, Jaden Daniels, Justin, and, for the Chargers. And then, like you said, Dak. And then it's just a whole bunch of mediocrity at that point. Like Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, Baker Mayfield, Trevor Lawrence, Drake May. I mean, would you really take all of them or any of them ahead of Jalen Hurts? And, I heard today somebody say, Jalen Hurts will never win another Super Bowl. Well, you know how hard it is to win one, and the man's been to 2. There's not 30 quarterbacks who who've gotten 1. So it's kind of a crazy argument. I mean, the guy has, you mentioned all of the different elements that he's going to play with this year, new offensive coordinator, new weapons. My gosh, he's done that almost every season. I mean, like going back to high school, this man's had a new OC every single year. It's insane. And all he does is put his head down, go to work, and beat the odds every single year. The guy's in the postseason. So I don't see how anybody, like I said, at the beginning, he's 5-6 range to me, and that's because I kind of have him after Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, Burrow. Then it's Hurts, and I don't even know how to pronounce the guy's last name. Herbert, Bear. I don't know which way they say his name there, but
Whoa, we got.
I don't watch the Chargers.
I've never
man.
seen I've never heard Hey Bear before. But
Bear.
I'm gonna use that
That's
for
like
now.
Louisiana. Like there used to be a Bobby Bear with the same spelling. So
It's
I don't know how you say it, and I don't really care.
it's French. It's like fragile in the Christmas Story.
Yeah.
It must be expensive.
Yeah.
We got Corey with us now. Corey, I believe David and I are in the same aspect, and I think you are as well. We're trying to figure out where Jalen Hurts falls, right? Because these QB lists are mind blowing, right? And also these reports where he's on, and these a lot of people's mind, Jalen Hurts is on a roster bubble, and that's how they're acting, which is mind blowing, right? And it seems like year after year, no matter who's the QB of the Eagles, Eagles fans have to fight for people to recognize how great the player is. 2016 Carson Wentz to 2017 Carson Wentz, Donovan McNabb, Nick Foles, and now Jalen Hurts. Where do you place Jalen Hurts in the top 10 of quarterbacks in the league right now?
If we're limiting to a top 10, he's probably in the bottom half for me, based on last year's performance. Obviously, what he's done in the past certainly merit consideration.
Let me throw asterisks in there. Full body of work in the last 7 seasons. Sorry.
I mean, he's probably in the lower top 5, probably 4 or 5, maybe 6. I still think Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes, I know that he's beaten them, but if we're looking at production and statistics, they outdo Jalen Hurts. But if you look at winning in big moments, obviously that goes to Jalen Hurts. So, I mean, I think this is going to be a never-ending conversation for as long as Jalen Hurts is in the league. Football is just a weird sport, right? Because in baseball, if a guy goes 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, it's not a big deal. He'll get him tomorrow. If a guy shoots under 30% from the floor in basketball, it's okay, like not a big deal. Jalen Hurts doesn't throw for 200 yards and the Eagles still win, it's a big deal. So it's a very weird dynamic with Jalen Hurts. Yeah, he's a top 10. I saw that ranking that came out, I believe, with The Athletic or whatever, where the executives have him at number 17. I think that's a little too ESPN. I think it's a little too low, but I also can see why they're doing it if they're basing it solely on last year's performance, because the offense was a disaster. And there are some limitations. I mean, I think we all have to be honest with ourselves that there are some things that Jalen struggles with. I think some of his best playmaking ability does come when he's able to extend the plays with his legs. But as he gets older, that's not going to be something that he can rely on as often.
So I kind of want to look at this, right? What do we define as a top quarterback in the NFL? Like, guys have to at least throw over 3,000 yards, obviously, right? Jalen Hurts threw for 3,224 yards last season. Definitely should be throwing in the close to the 30 range of touchdowns. He threw 25 touchdowns. Completion percentage can't be garbage. Has to be good enough. 64% completion percentage. And I believe his interceptions were he threw 6 interceptions. The year before that, 5 interceptions. Is this solely a truly Jalen Hurts is not good enough argument, or is this solely a it's the guys around him, making them better? Like, at some point, I feel like we got to call a spade. Like, just Jalen Hurts is an efficient quarterback, but why is there such a bitter taste in the mouths of so many people that are analyzing his game?
I'd say because they get it wrong, because their ideas and quarterbacking philosophies are archaic. They just don't look at modernized quarterbacking. And also they undervalue the one thing that's never been undervalued until Jalen Hurts has become the topic, and that's winning. Terry Bradshaw won 4 Super Bowls. Do you think he was the most athletic quarterback of the 70s? Spoiler alert, he isn't. He was not that good. He had the best defense in football. I mean, he had, I don't even remember, like 8 Hall of Famers on that team with him. And every time somebody mentions that Jalen Hurts succeeds because of the team, they act like that's an indictment to have good players. You know what? Matthew Stafford has good players. Why hasn't he won? There's a whole lot of guys who don't win. Josh Allen can't get past Patrick Mahomes. Jalen Hurts has got past him 3 or 4 times in a row. Herbert, if that's how you say his name, he threw 4 interceptions last year in the wild card game. Lamar Jackson has struggled in the postseason. Dak Prescott has struggled in the postseason. And there's something to be said about finding a way to win a game. And you can go back. Joe Montana has 4 Super Bowl rings. Yeah, he had Roger Craig, Charles Haley, Jerry Rice. You know, all these guys have players that you're going to remember the names because they won, because they were constantly in the postseason, because they were on every channel on television every single year in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Every quarterback who ever won had a good team. Elway never could win until he had a good team. He won 2 Super Bowls at the end. Marino couldn't find a way to win. Jim Kelly couldn't find a way to win. Troy Aikman, Dallas Cowboy fans love crapping all over Jalen Hurts. Troy Aikman only threw over like 20 touchdowns once in his entire career. Why? Because their offense was built the same way the Eagles are. Play strong defense, play ball protection, keep away, and a good running game with dominant offensive lines. Just because the Eagles are playing that style of football in 2024, 5, and 6 doesn't negate what he's accomplishing. And I think winning has somehow, like, they turned it into a bad word or something, like he's only can do it because of his cast around him. I implore everyone to look at it and look and see that he has made everyone around him better. His work ethic, the way he attacks every practice, his philosophy in doing things. And ask anybody who's come there. Ask everybody. I mean, AJ Epinesa just said today how happy he is that he's there instead of Chicago. It's just a different way to win. Saquon Barkley has said it. You can go on and on about all of these teams, you know, that other players have come from the free agent world, and they're all enamored with Jalen Hurts. They all wanted to come over there and play with him. He's canceled retirement plans. Lane Johnson wants to try to get another ring. Brandon Graham keeps coming back because of Jalen Hurts to get a ring. And if everybody else understands how much he brings to the table, I just don't understand why the general public and some of these anonymous, you know, rankings that come from players and such are always so negative. Because if they had to publicly state all of that and identify who they were doing that, they'd be clowned just as bad as the regular announcers on ESPN and everywhere else that do it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it. I mean, the tiers that I was seeing earlier today was from The Athletic. So both the ESPN and The Athletic must have put something out, but they had 50 executives and coaches ranked at 35 veteran quarterbacks, and Jalen Hurts comes in at 17. I mean, I guess we do a little exercise here. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is ranked above Jalen Hurts. Would you rather have Trevor Lawrence over Jalen Hurts?
I'd rather have his hair right now, but that's neither here nor there.
Like, I wouldn't want him. Sam Darnold, I mean, I know he led the Seahawks to a Super Bowl, but wasn't that a similar team and makeup like the Eagles were a few years ago, where they had a fantastic defense? Baker Mayfield throws a ton of interceptions, threw a late interception against the Eagles defense last season that essentially iced the game. Jaden Daniels, that's got to be an upside selection because he didn't play really at all last year. So, all right. I could at least see Jaden Daniels. I could see an argument for Jaden Daniels over Jalen Hurts in certain things in that regard. Caleb Williams had a good year. Still wouldn't want him over Jalen Hurts. Brock Purdy,
franchise quarterback.
You know, Brock Purdy, he's not sexy. He wins, but he's not compared to other quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts is. Brock Purdy, yeah, he'll have some nice games here and there, but then he'll be a manager and just find a way to get the wins. And oh, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, he didn't play much last year. And the guy's eluding my name right now, the former Patriot quarterback who filled in for him, the backup. Oh my God,
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones. Thank you.
That won all of his games.
Yeah, thank you. So Matt, like, is that a system in San Francisco? Like, can you just plug in any quarterback out there? So, I mean, you look at this, like the tier 1 guys are Mahomes, Allen, Stafford, and Burrow. I'm okay with that. Like, that makes sense to me. Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, Drake May, Jared Goff, Jordan Love, and Purdy are your next 5 through 11. I mean, I could easily, see Hurts being interchanged with one of those guys. But,
I have more so a question. I think everybody will come a national consensus will say Jalen Hurts had a down year last season. Correct?
Yeah.
Josh Allen had 25 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Jalen Hurts had 25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Josh Allen averaged 215 passing yards per game. Jalen Hurts averaged 201. Lamar Jackson averaged 196 and only had 21 touchdown passes. And mind you, Jalen Hurts threw the least interception was tied for least interceptions in the league with Jordan Love. And if we're looking at if the idea is that we're looking at numbers to rank these guys, like we're looking at the wrong stuff. And I think you guys agree with this. Where if it's about winning now. And it was about winning with Tom Brady because Tom Brady wasn't always in the top of the league. He had Drew Brees and Peyton Manning that he was competing with consistently, and Phillip Rivers when it came to stats. But Jalen Hurts he's putting up good numbers in a bad year, and is still being tossed to the side like he didn't win a Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's just going to be the same way. I mean, it drives engagement, right? You got the talking head shows on ESPN. These rankings are always going to spark because you've got, I would say, more than half the fan base that believes in Jalen Hurts. And there's some Jalen haters out there. There's no doubt about that. And I'm not saying that you have to turn a blind eye and not accept his flaws, because there are flaws. But overall, in my opinion, he doesn't deserve the criticism that he's getting in terms of not being a legitimate quarterback.
He doesn't chase stats. He doesn't chase reckless throws. And that's not a limitation. That is control. He takes what the defense gives him. He never pursues inflated numbers. And despite being one of the more efficient deep passers in the NFL, he doesn't even chase that. I don't really understand it. He drives the ball outside the numbers. People talk about all these limitations, but I don't even know what those are. I mean, the Eagles didn't build an offense to avoid throws. They've trusted him to execute them in the most high leverage situations that the NFL has, which is the Super Bowl, 2 of his better games ever. And, the narrative just doesn't really hold up when you look at how his passing has unfolded when you do it in context. I think a lot of the context stems from like a narrow snapshot of his early career profile. And it's just not like that anymore. The claims just don't hold. And, I think he's misunderstood in a lot of ways because of the way the coaching staff has game planned. And it's not because of his limitations. It's a philosophy that Nick Sirianni has. And if you watch, Hard Knocks or anything else, ball control and never turning the ball over is one of his most important stats. And people kind of misassociate that with Jalen not wanting to do a lot of these, dangerous throws or throw in tight windows, but they're just not being allowed to be done in the offense. They've kind of held that out, not because of his limitations, but because that's not the style of game they want to play. They've had a top 5 defense and they want to ride it.
How much weight do you put into the scheme affecting or limiting Jalen Hurts? Because it sounds like, and we'll get to kind of the training camp aspect right now. Like, it sounds like he's very comfortable with this new offense, and he's actually going above and beyond to make sure, like, to maximize the potential of this new offensive scheme. How much weight do you put on the offensive schemes of the past and how it's impacted his play on the field? Because we've seen him play, keep the ball away from the defense a lot, as opposed to putting the ball in play. And that's been, I think, a very frustrating aspect of watching the Eagles offense year in, year out. Do you think that's limited his potential, or do you see, like, this could actually be a breakout year, quote unquote, for Jalen Hurts?
I mean, I think it limits his potential or his production because they're playing risk adverse football. I mean, we see reporters out there saying, if the Eagles don't turn the ball over, this is their record. I mean, every NFL team has a really good record when they don't turn the ball over. The Eagles have just done it at a higher level than most. I do think this scheme plays a factor. If we go back and listen to some of the interviews over this past few days in training camp, everybody's raving about this new scheme. They're saying it's a reactionary scheme. You get up there, you trust the play call, and you run it aggressively. Whereas offensive linemen said last year that their minds were going a million miles an hour, trying to digest everything, trying to analyze what the defense was doing, and then basically overcompensating and not getting to where you had to be. Like it was so simple. It's really amazing. The offense was so hard for the offensive players to comprehend and execute, yet so simple for opposing defenses to read. Like, that is just horrific. There's really no other way to put it. So, it does seem like Jalen Hurts is feeling better about the scheme. He's excited. I mean, let's say what it is. There's no AJ Brown to deal with. And, I mean, it is. I mean, I just feel like there's a different vibe based on how the players are talking, based on what the reporters that are there are saying. And it is what it is. And it's unfortunate because obviously AJ Brown was a big reason why they were successful for 4 years. But it just seems like this dark cloud that was going to be looming over them for another season is not there. So Jalen is feeling better. He's got a smile on his face. He's taken Mekhi Lemon under his wing. Everybody's raving about his leadership. So, I do think the scheme has a big role in it.
I hate the fact that that Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown are going to be tied to the hip together for the next couple of seasons. Like the success of one of either one is going to be tied to the other one, and it's going to be a very, very annoying topic. But it's also a very intriguing topic. Like, are we going to see a more looser version of Jalen? Because even with the media, Jalen was very loose, and I'm not tying that to AJ Brown, but you can see right there where it's kind of like, hey, like you mentioned before, like the guys are talking more, like it's tied to AJ Brown. Are we going to see a more fluid version of Jalen Hurts as a passer, where he doesn't have to focus on finding AJ, instead he has to focus on finding the open guy?
I don't think the scheme is going to alter a lot of the way the statistics end up at the end of the season for Jalen Hurts, because at the end of the day, it's still Nick Sirianni's offense. Even though he's allowed somebody else to come in, he still controls a lot more of it. Anybody who thinks differently just isn't paying attention. It is still his offense. And Howie Roseman, what is the number one characteristic of the Philadelphia Eagles since he has become general manager? Everybody will say it every year. They built through the lines, right? They want to have dominant lines. Where do all of their top tier premium draft pick go year in and year out? Where did all the money go this year? To defensive lines. They paid the offensive line and the defensive line. So why in the hell would you do that if your thought process was to throw the ball up 40 to 45 times in a game? That's not happening. That's not the way this team is built. They want to control the clock, control the game, be dominant, be physical. And, naturally that reduces passing attempts, yards, and passing touchdowns. That's just what happens. The scheme has always leaned heavily on a ground game, play action, RPOs. And it's just not going to have eye-popping statistics. And it's a trade that a lot of winning quarterbacks have had. You mentioned Tom Brady, but I mentioned at the top, Terry Bradshaw, Joe Montana, Troy Aikman, 11 Super Bowls between them. And they're all remembered for what? Championships and being clutch in the postseason. Well, guess who else can do that? Guess who else plays his best games in the postseason and has been clutch? And he's not going to lead the league in passing yards every season because the team is just not built that way. And doesn't matter what Sean Mannion brings over here. Hurts is not going to suddenly throw 5,000 yards because they're throwing the ball over the middle. It's just going to make them more efficient.
I agree.
Nailed it. Corey's about to drop a hammer because he's nodding, he's thinking, like I can see the calculations like just rolling through his eyes.
No, yeah, David. I mean, David nailed it. I mean, I'm a little less confident than I think you two are with the wide receivers. I think there is some trepidation in me, at least, especially with Mekhi Lemon being injured again with the hamstring. We could go through the injuries in a little bit, but I mean, the fact that your 20th overall pick missed another practice, left yesterday early, and the Eagles are saying that it's not a long-term concern, but this has been lingering for a couple months now. I mean, he missed time in the OTAs. He was resting. He said he's 100%. And, we're less than a week into training camp and he's already sidelined. So, I mean, that could be a big loss. I don't want to say he's done for the season, obviously, but if he's not 100% by opening day, I mean, I do think that fans need to temper their expectations of what Lemon can be, at least for the first few weeks of the season, if this hamstring injury doesn't get better.
Well, I'm not too concerned about that because Devontae Smith, when he correct me if I'm wrong, when he was drafted, his rookie season, the training camp, he missed a lot of he missed a lot of training camp as well.
Yeah, but it's a hamstring injury for a wide receiver, so it's just not good. I'm not saying he's going to be out, but not only is he missing time just in general, but he's also missing rep time with Jalen Hurts to get on the same page when it matters the most. So obviously I'm not saying that the Eagles are lying. If they don't believe it's a long-term concern, that's great, but it just seems like it's kind of a long-term concern when this is going back to the spring. That's not 2 weeks ago. That's 2 months ago.
Yeah, I could definitely see it lingering, especially how AJ Brown's lingered last year. But it's weird. The Eagles seem to have a thing with rookies where they come into camp, they stay injured, and come first week of season they're balling out, they're playing. I think Devontae's was MCL sprain or something weird that had us all worried about.
I mean, Cooper DeJean missed most of camp for similar reasons. It took him about a month. I guess he came in like week 5.
Yeah,
which might be something similar. You see with Lemon as well, and I don't mean being on the field, but as far as being what he was drafted to be.
Yeah, and the good thing that works in the Eagles' favors this year is that they have what they didn't have last year. They have depth at wide receiver. I'm not saying they have studs all around. Lemon's going to be a stud. He's going to be who we expect him to be, right? But Dontavian Wicks, I feel like Wicks is going to be somebody that nobody expects him to be. I'm very hell-bent on seeing that happen. I'm not saying Elijah Moore is going to be the guy that he was drafted to be, but he could be serviceable. Hollywood Brown could be serviceable. And on top of that, they have, the tight end help with Dallas Goedert, Eli Stowers, and the guy's name that escapes my mind,
Johnny
Munt. But that's where this scheme plays the big role, is because it's designed for those types of pass catchers. They're not trying to just win man-on-man battles like they did in the past with A.J. Brown on the outside and Devontae Smith. This scheme is designed to get people in space, get over the middle, get them on the run, try to get, more yards after the catch. It's built differently, and it wasn't built to accommodate the wide receivers. The wide receivers are here to accommodate the system. They went out and grabbed all of these guys. This was by design. Eli Stowers, who might not be hugely impactful this year, he's brought in for a reason, because he, gets yacked. Just like with Mekhi Lemon, Devontae Wicks creates space over the middle. Elijah Moore gets a lot of space over the middle as well. All of these guys were brought in for a purpose, whereas they tried to make what they had here work over the years with all these athletes. All these people are brought here for the system, and they invested high round picks on both Mekhi Lemon and Eli Stowers to do that, which tells you this isn't going to be a one and done system. This is something that they've dedicated a lot of, draft resources to move forward. And the way their roster is designed, they're going to have to stick with these guys because they don't have the money to end up paying on offense when you have to pay all these guys on defense, like Jalix and, Q and Cooper coming up next season.
I think now's the perfect time to segue into the big payday that the defensive line has got this offseason. First, started with Jordan Davis. Now Jalen Carter, $152 million for 4 years. I think, how much was guaranteed?
106.
Oh, 106. $106 million guaranteed.
Most of it for a DT.
I mean, hey, they're keeping them together, and I think that's significant. I couldn't see one without the other in this defense, especially in the future. I think when Jordan Davis got paid, that's when the Jalen Carter rumors came out that he was going to get traded, and they were going to move him for Max Crosby or this and a third. But Carter's here to stay. How do you guys feel about the long-term commitment and the idea that we have yet to really see the best out of Jalen Carter?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of bread and butter of what Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie have done over the years, right? They pay their players, they pay their producers, and Howie Roseman said it best when they talked about it to open up training camp. This isn't a contract for what you've done. It's for what you're going to do and what we expect you to do. So I don't have a problem with it. I thought he was going to get a lot of money. I don't know if they were going to go over and make him the highest paid D tackle. I thought maybe he'd be close and not surpass it the way they did, but they believe in the young man. Obviously, there is some worry. The shoulder injuries weren't ideal last year. Hopefully, those are behind him. Obviously, some maturity issues that have popped up over the years, but overall, they believe in Jalen Carter, and we've seen what he can do on the field. And we've seen that he can change a game on a dime none more than that Rams playoff game a couple of years ago to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, that snow game, I say it all the time. If he didn't get to Matt Stafford, he had a wide receiver, a tight end wide open in the middle of the field around the 3-yard line. And they could have milked that clock, punched it in, and the Eagles would be going home without going to the Super Bowl. So, I mean, he single-handedly saved them that game. He's a fantastic player. And, yeah, the sacks aren't there, but he draws the double teams. So that's like a very thankless job is the defensive tackle position because you're drawing 2 offensive linemen to now free up a guy like a Jonathan Grenard or a Jalix Hunt or a Jordan Davis or Moro Ojomo. I mean, the list goes on and on with this Eagles defense where, okay, Jalen Carter's not packing the box score with stats, but he's allowing the other 10 guys to get to the quarterback to do their job easily because of what he brings to the field.
Yeah, I thought he would be the highest paid. I think the biggest difference is Jalen Carter's 25 years old. When Chris Jones signed his big deal, he was 5 years older than him. He was 30. Jeffrey Simmons was 3 years older when he set the market prior to Jalen Carter. And I think the age matters. And like Howie and them said, trajectory matters. You're getting the guy on the upswing. You're not paying Chris Jones, who's 30, for, a 5-year body of work he already completed. Jalen Carter is about to complete all of that. And I think it was smart to move sooner, signing a long-term deal for a guy who's going to end up being one of the faces of your franchise. And the money, these free agent contracts every year, Jalen Hurts was the highest paid quarterback for like a day. I mean, all these contracts, if you go back and look 2 years later, they don't really look that big anymore. The salary cap climbs like 8 to 9% every single year. And the defensive tackle market hasn't just maintained that type of increase, it's lapped it. Defensive tackle is one of the highest paid positions in football now. And that's not going to happen. It's not going to stop happening. It's just going to keep going. And most people, who study the cap, like capologists, predict the cap's going to be 380 plus million over the next, 4 years. So as that cap increases, Jalen Carter's sticker price declines because the percentage of the cap that he's withholding, is very little compared to what it is now. And the Eagles love being proactive with these kind of guys. That's why you're going to see Coop and Q get the same deal. They're going to lock in their core players, and they've identified the 5 defensive core players who, in my opinion, are Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, Quinion, Cooper, and Jalix Hunt. And I think you're going to see all 5 of those guys play together for another 5 years.
I want to jump on that topic because you left a key name out of that group. And Nolan Smith is, former first round pick. I think he can, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think he can walk after this season, if I'm not mistaken.
They already
picked up the option.
Initiated his 5th-year option for 2027.
Okay, so they can move him after the season if needed be.
They could trade him. They can trade him now if they want. But they have him for 2027. And I didn't leave his name out because I don't think he's a great talent, but I think they're going to have to choose between him or Jalix Hunt.
And it seems like Jalix is on the rise.
I do. And I mean, you look at his interviews, like what was the first thing they asked him yesterday at camp about his statistics? And he said, the only thing I care about winning. Who does that sound like? It's part of their core belief system now. It'd be nice to have all the sacks, but they've all bought into this team mentality. And he's one of the people who buys into that. Just like Q, they asked him, how'd you feel when Howie said people who have your jersey have nothing to worry about next year? He didn't care. These guys are just different. Just like a lot of people messaged me after Zay Flowers. Oh God, how he messed up. He should have signed Smitty to a bigger contract extension prior to, all these numbers. Smitty isn't built like that either. He doesn't care. They don't want to be, the highest paid guy that's going to cripple a team. And you always just look at the guaranteed money on any of those deals anyway. But in my opinion, I just think it comes down to Jalix versus Nolan. And, quite frankly, Nolan's little, mishap this offseason didn't help him. Do I think it's going to hurt him long term? No, I don't. I do think he's genuinely sorry, and he apologized to everybody on the team, including the owner. So, I don't think that's going to hinder him as far as moving forward. But, when you're looking at just minute differences between the two, edge rushers there that, you're going to want to pay and keep with the team long term, it probably does play a role. And I think health more than anything else will probably be the determining factor, because he has struggled to stay healthy as opposed to Jalix Hunt.
Yeah, it's kind of. I thought Nolan Smith was going to be the game record that Hassan Reddick was, and it's kind of surprising to see how well Jalix Hunt has come in and gone ahead of the curve, as well as kind of taking a leap over Nolan. But it's definitely going to.
Nolan. I still think he can be Reddick 2.0. I still think he has that talent.
But it's the injuries. The injuries are always on just on top of him.
Yeah. I mean, the injuries have killed him. When he's on the field, he plays with a veracity. I mean, I like what I've seen from Nolan Smith when he's on the field. It's just the injuries, and unfortunately, that hurts your marketability, right? They say the best availability is being available. Like, that the best ability is having availability. Like that's what they need. And right now, Jalix Hunt has been available more than Nolan Smith, and he's taken the bull by the horns and has produced. And listen, he's having an awesome training camp again. I mean, everywhere you look on Twitter, everybody's saying buy more stock in Jalix Hunt, buy more stock. I mean, this dude is a baller.
He's going to be a stud for years to come. And again, it's, how he's doing. He's doing some remarkable things with that defense, and investing in the defense and getting younger in the offense is just the right way to go at this point. But yeah, we discussed Jalen Hurts, we discussed Jalen Carter. We even throw in Jalix Hunt in there. I think it's time for Corey to bring us home on housekeeping things with training camp, keeping you guys up to date with everything that's going on.
Yeah, so today it really highlighted by injuries, unfortunately, today. So if you guys missed it out there, day 5 of training camp, another padded practice. But we talked about it. Mekhi Lemon and Devontae Smith, they were both out with hamstring injuries. We talked about Lemon kind of missing more time. Devontae was walking around at practice. They don't think that it's going to be a big deal. They did say, according to Jeff McClain of the Philadelphia Inquirer, there is going to be a rehab process for both of them. So it does look like it's going to be something more than just rest. Cooper DeJean apparently suffered an arm injury, but then seemed to be all right. He didn't go back in, but obviously you kind of hold your breath when you see an injury designation around DeJean. And then at one point, Britton Covey also got hurt. So the Eagles were down essentially like 3 wideouts today with Hollywood Brown, Elijah Moore, and Dontavian Wicks. So those were the injuries during practice. Guys who did not practice leading up to it, Lane Johnson had an excused practice. Micah Morris, the rookie offensive lineman, dealing with a shoulder issue. Jaden Roberts, another rookie offensive lineman, has a calf contusion. And the 7th-round safety, Cole Wisniewski, also dealing with a hamstring injury. So the injury's kind of important to some key pieces. Obviously, it's early. Like I said, I think you got to keep an eye out for Mekhi Lemon's status over the next few days. But I think the silver lining of this gentleman, Markel Bell, getting more first-team reps. I mean, listen, we want this offensive line to be healthy, right? We knew like that was the floodgate that kind of opened and let the water go in, and that really screwed up this offense. But if they don't have a Lane Johnson, it seems more and more likely that Markel Bell could very well slide over and swing at right tackle. I mean, they are throwing him into the fire, so to speak, but he seems like he's been able to handle it. He was fantastic at Miami, And I'm really excited to see what he has. I mean, I think he could supplant Fred Johnson for the leading swing tackle, in my opinion.
I like him and Michael Morris. I'm a very big believer in those two, and I think they're going to be studs for years to come.
They are massive human beings.
Yeah, I have a thing with people that are taller than me. So if you guys are taller than me and we ever meet in person, just keep walking. Just walk by me. It's
Yeah,
a weird phobia.
unfortunately, I've never really had that feeling in my life. So.
Corey, I swear, if you're 4'11", when we ever meet,
No, I'm not 4'11", but I'm also not 6 feet. So I'm an average height male in the U.S. of A. I think.
You think, oh my God.
Let's look this up real quick.
Now I'm curious, David. How tall are you? You have to be like 6 foot something.
I'm 6 foot.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
there
right
you
at the average. I'm 5'9". There we go.
Oh, we're good. I'm 5'11".
There we go,
Okay,
we're
that's
good.
cool. David just come off his high heels.
I'm getting older, so I shrunk a 1/4 inch this past physical. So apparently
man.
that happens as you age.
I actually read about that this week when I started this new weight loss journey. But nonetheless, we appreciate you guys for tuning in this week. We'll be back next Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. going live to discuss the latest in Eagles news. Until then, I'm Brian Cameron alongside Corey Naito, David Neese, and we are Flipping the Birds. Go Birds.
Flip.